what's interesting is I think, I mean, for those of us who, we just come out of the downturn, and Nevada felt the downturn more than anybody. It was devastating. A lot of people I know lost houses and jobs, and we saw our home values drop by 55%. We were at that time facing a 15% unemployment rate, and the jobs that were still there, had lost a lot of value. So I think the idea of 5,000 jobs and that kind of construction activity at that time really didn't concern us at all at that point. It was, we thought we had plenty of capacity in the system.
We had been so down in the recession that there were a lot of people who just said, I'll believe it when I see it. So I think for a lot of people, myself included, it was, oh, this is interesting. We'll see how this plays out.
Because we made the offer, Tesla said, you guys are close enough that we'll probably want to come by and visit you anyhow. And you made the offer, we can find time to come up and see what's there. And so they did the 5-state tour, and ultimately they came back 2 weeks later, looked at the sites we had. We had identified 2 sites, and one of the sites was one they really liked, and they, on the way to the airport, they said, you guys got a great site here.
It took a little while, probably a year or two, before the effects really started happening and people could see it. And you really started seeing the change in basically the demographics and the people that were coming to Reno. And what we saw was a lot more knowledge-based younger people moving to Reno. This was the first time that I can recall where people who were already highly educated and very valuable in today's knowledge-based, information-based economy were actually showing up in Reno.
If we'd have been 2 years earlier, it wouldn't have been early enough, probably. Kind of feel like we're paying catch up in at least in my sector of the world, in workforce development. We're the federally funded arm of that. And so we don't react quickly. Yeah, I think that we're not where we want to be yet on really developing the workforce that's going to be needed at the facility.
And I started feeling that growth in terms of how busy my men and women were on their calls for service. Ideally, a police chief would like to give their officers 40% of the time to do proactive policing. And that time was cut down to about 5%. They were basically going from call to call to call.
When you start talking about adding 52,000 jobs, it's not going to be handled by by one entity. The city of Reno, which is obviously the largest municipality, right, at 240-some thousand, but in a region of close to 500,000. So, but that one jurisdiction says, okay, well, this is how we're going to do it, and we have to kind of back up and go, okay, you're not going to do it by yourself. Even now, we're still working hard to bring all of those entities together to start working more collaboratively. Because as prices continue to escalate in Reno, folks are looking further out to try and find that affordability.
So we had to find a way to identify funding for more police officers, identify some new positions that could help alleviate some of that workload, and we had to do it real quick. Police service specialists, which was an immense help. We have community service officers who are also non-sworn officers that go out and take cold calls in the field for those that can't make it to the station to file a report. We completely reinvigorated our online reporting system. We started using intelligence-led policing very, very fiercely and really started to dive into trends through data. We started doing a lot more with a lot less. All of these civilian positions were about half the cost of a police officer, and we were able to hire more officers.
The misconception that you have to have a college education in order to be successful, again, that's a cultural thing throughout the United States. I think we need to change there. I think there are great opportunities for people to have very successful careers in high-tech industries and jobs that don't require the 4-year degree. They don't require the massive amount of debt that many of our students graduate from college with today. So I think that, and we're doing some things in that direction, trying to introduce the new jobs that are available in places like Tesla and Panasonic, that we're hoping the youth will grab onto that and understand that there's a very, very good road for them if they would choose to go that way.
We are absolutely truly in a transformative age here in Racine County. When you talk about transformation, you talk about opportunity, and when you talk about opportunity, you obviously talk about challenges. Right now, you've seen really unprecedented collaboration between our municipalities, especially east of I-94. We have so many more challenges left. Transportation, as I mentioned, still not solved. Housing, workforce, and whatnot. So we have the great honor to have our team here from Reno to share what their challenges were, how they became collaborative, and how they work together.
Right, exactly. So Bill, all of our elected officials, if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it would probably be that you can't solve this issue on your own. You really have to recognize that if you love this place, it's all of you together.
Well, collaboration and cooperation are probably the two key words in all of that.
If you guys can build those lines right now, those lines of communication, putting the right people, visionaries and free thinkers that don't have to say, hey, we have to do it this way. Just look at the change, look at the positive change. You put those people in place right now in the next year, and you guys will have great success.
You'll have the ability to pick and choose who you get. And I would suggest any community is better off in a position where they get to choose who comes than they are going out and trying to get anybody that'll come and bring jobs, period.
So it was very hard to get people to believe it's going to happen and get things done now, while you have some time, while the costs are reasonable, while the impact is a whole lot less.